Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. We'd like to thank you for tuning in today, and we welcome you back for another edition brought to you by Muhammad's Temple United. Muhammad's Temple United is a collective body of believers and members of the Nation of Islam throughout the country who have joined together in a strong brotherhood and strong sisterhood to unite all of the temples across the country. As we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Islam is a unifying religion, and we are taking that into practice by coming together and doing something for ourselves to create heaven while we live right here on earth. We invite you all to join us in this beautiful unity of brotherhood and sisterhood. Whether you are a member of the Nation of Islam or you are new to Islam, we welcome you to come and join us as we come together and build something for ourselves. We ask that you join us every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear the teachings of Allah as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by one of our ministers throughout the country who will be rotating each week. So please try to be on time so you will not miss out on any of these powerful lectures. We also encourage you to tell a friend and family member to join us as well. It is important that all of our people get a chance to hear the truth so that they may make their decision. For those of you who would like to support Muhammad's Temple United and the work that we are doing to spread this truth throughout the country, please visit our Cash App at $Muhammad's Army. And for more information, you may reach us at 602-598-9009. Again, we thank you and we welcome you to Muhammad's Virtual Sunday Lectures. So without further ado, we'd like to present to you today's Muhammad's Sunday Virtual Lecture. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. We welcome you back for another edition to Muhammad's Sunday Lectures, brought to you by the Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temple United. We thank you for coming and joining us today because we know that there's many places that you can be, but you are here with us and we are thankful because we know that there's no other place better to be than in a place where the truth is being told. So without further ado, we have a great special for you today, so we don't want to hold you up too long. And as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, we open up every meeting in prayer. So allow me to open us up in prayer. I ask that you all get in position of prayer. For those of you who are here for your first time or unfamiliar with our prayer, we stand at attention. We stand erect at attention with our heels together at a 45-degree angle. Extend our hands as if we're receiving a gift. We slightly bow our head and close our eyes to this wicked world. For those of you who know the prayer, say along with me. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the Beneficent, the most merciful Master and Savior of this day of judgment in which we now live. To Thee alone do we serve, O Allah, and to Thee alone do we beseech for help. Guide us along the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed Thy favor, and not on the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who have gone astray after they have heard Thy teachings. Ameen. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in his divine leader and teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I greet you all in our greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. For those of you who are here for your very first time and who are unfamiliar with our greeting, Assalamu alaikum, The greeting is in the Arabic language, which is our original language. Translated into English only means peace be unto you. So Assalamu alaikum is a greeting of peace. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we are a people of peace. Islam is the religion of peace. So being that we are the people of peace, we greet one another in peace because that is what we want for not only ourselves, but we want that for others. So we greet one another in peace. And the return greeting is wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. That means peace also unto you. Think about it like this, brothers and sisters. When you think of heaven, what do you think of? What do you think of heaven as? It's a place of peace. Is that right? Well, let's say, can you have heaven without peace? Absolutely not. You have to have peace. In order to have heaven, you have to have peace. So, again, I greet you all in our greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. We'd like to welcome you all again to our Muhammad Sunday lectures. My name is Brother Daniel Shabazz. I am not the teacher today or your speaker. I am just your brother here to prepare you for the one coming up to speak today. And again, we have a very special lecture today, so I won't be taking up any more of your time. Let's go right ahead and introduce our beloved brother, a hardworking brother. This is a humble brother. Brother I had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time. So I know this brother personally. And I know how humble this brother is. Very good brother. And when I say brother, I mean that. He is a true brother. And he's well respected from coast to coast. He's well respected in his community. He's a hard worker in his community, meaning he's active in his community. He is a father, a husband, and he has been in the teachings, or shall I say the Nation of Islam, ever since the time of the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so we are thankful to Allah that Allah has preserved this brother to still be among us with the knowledge and wisdom that he has. So without further ado, I bring to you our beloved brother minister, Abdul Haq Muhammad from Brooklyn, New York.
Assalamu alaikum. In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, who appeared among us, the black man and woman of America, in the person of Master W.D. Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his divine servant and messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet our listeners, our viewers, in the greeting words of peace and paradise in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum means peace be unto you, and this is what we wish and hope for everyone that is listening to us this afternoon, or if wherever you're at, it might be the evening, it might be the morning, but we greet you in peace. My name is Brother Abdul Haq Muhammad. I'm a minister in the Nation of Islam. But before I'm a minister, I am your brother. And I want to be your friend to help you understand and learn the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was raised up, not sent to us, but he was raised up from among us the lost found Nation of Islam, or the black man and women that was captured and enslaved and brought to America over 400 years ago. He was raised up to teach us Islam and to bring us into the knowledge of God, or the true knowledge of God, the knowledge of the devil, and of course the knowledge of self, and to end, or to put an end to the spook civilization. I'm a member of Muhammad's Temple United, or Muhammad's Temple of Islam United. And this is a group of brothers and sisters that have come together to present to you the teaching of Islam as they are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And these lectures are every Sunday. They're called the Sunday Lectures. And we want to bring these Sunday lectures to you every Sunday. And we thank you for taking time out of your whatever busy schedule that you have to listen to us. I'd like to thank Brother Daniel Shabazz, who is kind of our technician. I call him the everything man, because he does everything for us to help us make sure everything is done right. He moves around. He's like a Renaissance man. So we thank you, Brother Daniel, and you will hear from him after the lectures are over, giving you some information on how you can learn more about what we're doing. And I'd like to thank another brother that's in the ministry, Brother Minister Wali Muhammad, who is also part of these Sunday lectures, and you will hear from him in the coming weeks. So make sure you tune in. We have a very, very significant interview that was done by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we're going to let you hear. But before that, I wanted to kind of introduce to you some of the things that we talked about, or reintroduce to you some of the things that we talked about in my previous lecture. But we started off with the question, who is Elijah Muhammad? Where did he come from? What is his credentials? And as I said earlier, he was raised up by God, not by a spook, not by some spirit. He didn't have no strong dream or some kind of epiphany. But he said that he met face to face with God in Detroit, Michigan in 1931. Just like Moses met with God in a burning bush, Abraham said he sat down with him and talked to God. He called him Lord. Okay? Jesus said that he came from God. So men and women have been coming from God and meeting with God and raised up by God for many, many centuries and many, many years. So when Elijah Muhammad, or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said he met with God, don't think that's impossible, because God always meets with his servants. Where did he get his teachings from? He said he met a man by the name of W.D. Farad, who introduced himself by the name of W.D. Farad, and for 3.5 years, he said this man taught him the knowledge of God, or the true knowledge of God, the knowledge of self, and the knowledge of the devil. And we also talked about what continued to motivate the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what motivated him, what energized him, because working with our people was a very hard job, and it continues to be one. But what motivated him was his love for us. And he said that love that he had for us was transmitted to him by Master Farad Muhammad, God in person. And he carried that love from the time that he started with his mission until its end. How do you measure a man? How do you measure a man like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? What criteria do you use? What kind of yardstick do you use to measure his work among us. There's a saying, you know a tree by the fruit it bears. You know a man by his works. To best describe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is to understand his mission. And he is, in description, a man like Moses. In fact, he is the modern day Moses among us. And as you know, brothers and sisters, Moses was sent to the children of Israel. And when he was sent to them, he was sent to them to raise them up out of the degradation that they found themselves in. And they were persecuted and tormented by an evil, evil government under the leadership of a man or a government under Pharaoh. And Moses took these people and led them out of the land of Egypt into the promised land. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad fits that description of a man like Moses. And Pharaoh taught the children of Israel as he tormented them. He taught them of a false God, a God of idols that they had to pray to. Likewise, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to us, black people, in America, who was worshiping God other than ourselves, who was worshiping God as a spirit in the sky. And the only time we believed that God would save us, we had to die and go to heaven. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you follow me, if you listen to these teachings, I will show you how you can have heaven here on earth. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in the Bible, he is the Elijah in the Bible. The last book of the Old Testament is called Malachi, which means in Hebrew, my messenger. In the 4th chapter and the 5th verse, this is the closing of the Old Testament, closing it out. And it says, behold, I send you Elijah, the prophet. Elijah, the prophet. I send to you in this time Elijah, and he will teach you things that you haven't been taught before. Behold, I send you Elijah, the prophet, who will teach you the knowledge that you have never heard before. And let me quote from the Bible so you can understand what I'm saying. In the book of Malachi, which is the last chapter of the Old Testament, the prophet before the coming of the last days. Let me read that so you can understand. Just bear with me, brothers and sisters. It says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and the dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Behold, I send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day. While you may say, well, that may be coincidental, but his name is Elijah. But let us look a little further, brothers and sisters. Not only is his name Elijah, but let's look at his work. He is the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day. What is so great about this day, and what is so dreadful about this day? It's great because black people have a chance to redeem themselves from the time that they were brought to America up until now. It is great for us if we but understand. It is great because we have a chance to save our children, to build our communities. It is great because we have a chance to reform and redo the things that we know that's best for us. But it is dreadful because it comes at a time when we're looking at America today. You see what's going on in America. The murders, the killings, the robberies, the hypocrisy, the confusion in government. You see President Joe Biden being under investigation. Then they talk about how Trump is under investigation. This is a very dreadful time. And it says, this dreadful, great and dreadful day where Elijah will come and turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Now, Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, turn our hearts to our brothers and sisters all over the world that love us, the brothers and sisters in Africa and Asia. And then he allowed us to turn our hearts to our brothers and sisters in the communities that we live, where we didn't have a relationship with some of our fathers. And our fathers didn't have relationships with us. And we are living right now at the end of this world, not the earth, but the world of hypocrisy, the world of debauchery, the world of confusion, the world of lies, and all the things that come with that. So he is the Elijah of the Bible. He is also the Muhammad of the Quran. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, he said that when he met Master Farad Muhammad, he said he told him to read 104 books that can be found in the Congressional Library in Washington, D.C. And he told him, he said, many of the books that I'm telling you to read has to do with the history of the world. One of those books that was a part of the 104 books is called the Holy Quran. And he instructed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to read the history of Moses. See, in the Bible, the first 4 books of the Bible are called the Book of Moses, or the books of Moses. Why is Moses so significant? And in the Holy Quran, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him to put emphasis, Master Farad Muhammad, instructed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to read the history of Moses, because the history of Moses corresponds with the modern day experiences of black men and women of America. Like the children of Israel, we were in bondage. We were enslaved. And in the 28th chapter, in the 46th verse of the Holy Quran, let me read that. It says, the prophet like Moses, and Allah is speaking in the Holy Quran, saying that he will raise up a prophet like Moses. Not Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, but a prophet like Moses. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad fits more the description of a prophet like Moses than Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I talked about that before. And it says that, and thou was not on the side of the mountain when we called, but mercy from thy Lord, thou mayest warn a people to whom no warner have come before, that they may be mindful. See, the emphasis here that I'm making is no warner has come as the Quran, as Allah is talking. I'm going to send you a prophet or a warner where no warner has come before, to a people who has never had a warner. The Israelites, the Jews have had a warner. The Arabs had a warner that came among them. Lot came among the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. You had many prophets, both in the Bible and the Holy Quran, that had prophets that came among them, warners that came among them. But Allah is saying here, I will send you a warner to whom no warner has come before. That is us, brothers and sisters, the black men and women of America. We have never had no one to come among us. We had Marcus Garvey. We had Noble Drew Ali. Some of you say, well, we had Martin Luther King. But this warner that is coming is distinct. He's unique. This warner that is coming directly from God comes with a teaching that is not of this world. And that is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Just let me move on a little bit, brothers and sisters. You will see a film where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is talking about his mission and his meeting with Master Farad Muhammad. See, a lot of you, as I've been saying in my previous lectures, that we don't know them. We don't know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't teach about him in school. He's not in your general textbooks. And when we're coming upon Black History Month, and I guarantee you, very, very few people will talk about this man. So we want to reintroduce to you, and we want to reintroduce to you the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he has been the most misunderstood and misrepresented black man in America. I was saying earlier about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How do you measure him? How do you distinguish if he's authentic? Is he genuine? You can tell the works of a man by what he has done and the results. Many of you know that he taught and trained many great men that came among us that you know about. Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, Wallace Muhammad, Minister Abdul Rahman out of Atlanta, Georgia. You had many men. I was trained by some of those men. Captain Yusuf Shah, Captain John Muhammad out of New York, Minister James Shabazz, Minister Jeremiah Shabazz out of Philadelphia. Many men and women. Not to forget the women, Sister Captain Clotel. She was taught personally by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You don't know of these people, but they did great work among our people. How do you measure a man? You measure a man or woman by their works. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got great results when he taught us and established things for our people out of his love for us. Do you know, brothers and sisters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad guided and directed the Nation of Islam from his home. He, on very few occasions, left his home. He's only time that we actually really saw him was at Our Savior's Day, which is February 26th. Every year we would go to Chicago. No matter what the day was, whether if it was Monday or Tuesday or Saturday or Sunday, we took off. We didn't ask our boss. We let them know. We told them that we were going to Chicago to see our leader and teacher. And many times, that's the only time we saw him. But he directed the Nation of Islam from his home. That's right. Some of the brothers and sisters that had been in the nation, believe it or not, for many years and didn't know that he was the leader of the Nation of Islam. They saw Malcolm. They saw some of the other ministers. They thought they were the leader. But that shows you the greatness of a man, because he doesn't want you to see him. He wants you to see what he has produced. He wants you to see what he has been able to accomplish. That's what you seeing him. Some of you go to theaters. Some of you go to live theater on Broadway or whatever, downtown Chicago or the west side of California. And you see these productions. You see these great plays, but you don't know there's a director behind the scenes. There's a man or woman behind the scene that put the whole thing together. So we saw the great, beautiful, magnificent Nation of Islam. But there was a force. There was an energetic man that was directing the Nation of Islam right from his home. That's how you judge a man. You judge a person by what they produce. So let me take a little bit of water, brothers and sisters. I hope everyone is all right so far. And just bear with me a few minutes. I'm just going to go over a few things, and I want you to listen. I want you to view this film of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He did, and the reason why I'm introducing this to you, because our children don't know him. They know more about SpongeBob SquarePants than they do a man like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's right. They know about Lil Wayne, the rapper. They know about all these other people, but they don't know about this man. So I want you, when we show this film, I want you to listen to him. He's not a man with great articulation in terms of language because he came from the South. But if you listen to the wisdom and the knowledge that's coming from him, you will learn something that you can use to better your life in the future. One of the things that he was able to do is literally reform thousands of black men and women and reform them from the level that they were at. They were dope fiends. They were criminals. They were abusers of their wife, abusers of their husband. They were not fit, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be a part of civilization. They were rejected and despised. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to reform them. Men and women took the drugs out of their arms, stopped snorting cocaine. They didn't have to go to a rehabilitation center. He reformed thousands. See, y'all praise Malcolm, but believe it or not, Malcolm was a thug. He was a criminal. He was a stick-up kid. Malcolm sold white women to black men and black women to white men. Malcolm was a hustler. But by the word that he heard from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it reformed him, changed him. And you always heard him say, if it wasn't for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I wouldn't be standing among you. I wouldn't be able to teach and talk like I am. Not only did he inspire Malcolm, he allowed Malcolm to become so intelligent. He allowed him to stand up and be able to teach what he was teaching. What are some of the works of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? See, many of you talk about Black Wall Street that happened in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You talk about the great beauty and the great establishment in Black Wall Street. How many blocks there was? Over 37 blocks of businesses and movie theaters. This is in 1921. I hear you'll talk about this all the time. But some of you were alive, or still alive, I should say, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad surpassed that. And this is not to put down what happened in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where white people murdered and bombed that city or that town because they were jealous of the accomplishments of black people. The same thing happened in Florida in a place called Rosewood. They were vibrant. They had established all kind of businesses, hotels. They even had an airplane in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Black Wall Street. They had hotels up and down that street. But you'll never talk about. And that is wrong, brothers and sisters. That is unfair. And here was this man right in your midst, and he established. Let me just give you a list of things that he did. He had temples. Muhammad Temples of Islam, or Muhammad Mosque of Islam, all over the country. And many of them are still in active today through different brothers and sisters that has established and continue to function in those capacities. He had temples all over the country, in the Caribbean, in Central and South America. That's right. He had an independent school. Many of you are complaining about the schools, the public schools that your children are in, and how white people are mistreating your children or miseducating them. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, since from 1931 up until 1975, we had 46 independent University of Islam in 46 different cities throughout America. Independent schools. Them children at 4 years old, they were doing calculus. Them children were doing trigonometry. They were disciplined. As they graduated, some of the best colleges and universities sought after the children that graduated from the University of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did that. We had restaurants, bakeries in every city. You had the great bean pie. You loved that bean pie. That recipe came from the man that he met, God in person, Master Farad Muhammad. We had farmland in Alabama and Mississippi. We had canning factories that canned out beans and different other products. We had a national newspaper called Muhammad Speak Newspaper that came out every week. And the brothers would go to the different communities selling Muhammad Speak newspaper. We had we imported fish from Peru, from Japan. We called it Whitey H&G, which means headed and gutted. It was it was only 59 cents a pound. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad guided us to do that. No one else in America, no black group were importing any fish at that time. Yes. We had a printing press. A printing press, $1 million or more printing press that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad purchased. We were printing all of our materials with that press. No black organization, no black group in America ever in the history of America had a printing press. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad guided us to have that, a printing press. In fact, we started printing a lot of the magazines and booklets for other black groups. Even the white man was coming to us asking us to print materials for him. Ebony magazine, Jet magazine, they were in existence over 100 years. They didn't even have a printing press. They came to us. They came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and asked him to print the Ebony magazine and the Jet magazine. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was working on establishing a hospital, a 200-bed hospital to help out people who were sick. Not only that, he established a bank. A bank. You understand what I'm saying? Do you hear me? I took my money, the little dollars that I had as a young Muslim, and took it out of the white man's bank and put it in the bank that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad established. We had a bank established by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He established homes, office buildings, clothing factories. He had a list of books, Message to the Black Men in America, How to Eat to Live. This is the cover of the book, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. And brothers and sisters, I encourage you to eat better. We die by what we put in our mouth or what we eat. But if you listen and read and study and adhere to the dietary laws of how to eat to live introduced by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you will live longer and you will live healthier. He published the book, Message to the Black Man in America, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2, The Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived, Supreme Wisdom 1 and 2, The Flag of Islam, all kind of materials. And he established radio and TV stations all throughout America. You didn't know that. And I remember asking one of the veteran members of the Nation of Islam named Brother Harvey. I said, Brother Harvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is condemning America. He's challenging the government of one of the most powerful nations on the earth, America. He said, what if they stop selling us paper to print our newspaper? He said, brother, he laughed. He said, brother, Honorable Elijah Muhammad already figured that out. He said he's way ahead of that. He said he's negotiating right now to buy timberland in Canada. You know, because that's where paper comes from, trees. He said he already took care of that. I said, oh, praises are due to Allah. So the man was not before his time, he was on time. So, brothers and sisters, I just wanted to take this period to talk about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his work among us. So you won't forget. There's a saying, he who fails to learn the lessons of history will be doomed to live it over and over again. God sent him to us. See, we as a people, we didn't believe that God, even though we went to church, we went to the different religious organizations, deep down inside, we always felt that we weren't worthy to be recognized and we were nothing. I used to hear black people say, niggas ain't nothing. We will never be nothing. We're on the bottom. But God came for us. He came and raised up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And sometimes when God raises up a person, the people don't recognize that person. When Noah came to the people and they tried to warn them of the flood that was coming, they laughed at him. They called him strange, crazy man. Look at that man building an ark on dry land. When Lot came to Sodom and Gomorrah and began to condemn and told the people to turn to the way of God, they laughed at him. They even tried to kill him. When Moses came to the children of Israel, some of them called him a crazy man. What God are you talking about? Where is your God, Moses? What's his name? We see the God that Pharaoh gave us. He's a big statue. But Moses said, I come to you to give you the reality of God and free you from the grips of Pharaoh. Jesus also came in Jerusalem, in Palestine, and told the people that God had sent him to have a new teaching. And what did they do to Jesus? They called him crazy, called him a sorcerer. Even some of him, he said he was doing the works of the devil. And there were people that embraced him, but as soon as they put Jesus on the cross, nailed his hands and feet, those same people that he worked miracles, let the blind, allowed the blind to see, the deaf to hear. He healed the lepers, raised Lazarus from the dead. Those same people that saw the miracles Once Jesus was hung on the cross, those same people, when they were confronted, they said, I don't know that man. I saw some of the things there, but I don't know. They denied him. Ain't that something? That is similar. That happens to prophets and messengers. They look strange. They don't come in the same kind of mold as the politicians or the preachers and the teachers. They come in a very different way. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was among us for 40 years. And we act like this man never existed. But I want you to hear from him this afternoon. So, Brother Daniel, as I close, Brother Daniel is going to put together the film and send it so you can see it and you listen to his words and embrace them and take notes. And brothers and sisters, I thank you as I close that I came to you in the name of Allah and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This interview, which was one of the few interviews that he did, it was in 1964 in his home in Phoenix, Arizona. The title of the film is called The Messenger of Violet Drive. That's the street that the house sits on. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad suffered from bronchial asthma. And there was times that he couldn't come out. There was times that he couldn't meet with his laborers or his public because he suffered from asthma, which is a shortness of breath. And there was times that many of us thought he was going to die during that period. But back in the late 50s, early 60s, he needed a home in Phoenix, Arizona. See, in Phoenix, in Arizona, the temperature or the climate is very dry. So you can manage your bronchial asthma or your asthma in that kind of climate. So he had asked Minister Basir Muhammad, who has since passed, one of his great ministers that I had the opportunity to sit with and work with. Minister Basir died a couple of years ago. He was close to 96 years old, had all of his teeth, skin was so smooth. Great man. He lived with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for some time. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had wanted a home, and he said, Dear Holy Apostle, I'll find you a home. And there was a big band leader at that time by the name of Louis Jordan. He was a band leader. He came in the same mode as many of the band leaders that you know, Duke Ellington and the rest of those big band leaders, Count Basie and them. And he had a home in Phoenix, Arizona on Violet Drive, and Minister Basir went to him and made an offer. And I think Minister Basir told me at that time he wanted like $20,000 now. $20,000 in 1959 or 54 or 60, that was considered a lot of money. That would be considered about $100,000, the equivalent of $100,000. So he said he made another offer to him that he couldn't refuse, and I think he brought it down a few thousand, and that's how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got that home. But this is where the interview took place. And the last interview the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made with the press was in 1972. In fact, it was January 14th, 1972, and that's a whole nother interview that needs to be viewed and listened to. But anyway, I will, at this time, brothers and sisters, leave you, and you will be able to see and hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Brother Daniel, after the viewing, he'll give you some information. So I will leave you as I came, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came to us in the person of Master W.D. Farad Muhammad, in the name of his divine servant and messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
It's too much to talk about.
But you are in your teachings trying to get the so-called American Negro to know his beginning, something
Yes,
of himself.
the black man of America, he's not a Negro. This is the slave master's name given to our fathers under slavery. There's no such thing as a race or nation of Negroes. You don't find that nowhere. This is our people's slang name given by the white slave masters. Well, he had in it. Let's take a look into why did he call us Negroes after he made us slave? Well, we was pretty dumb when he brought us here. It's not that we can say that we were smart, we were wise. No, that we would not have come here. He could not have brought us here. We was not too smart. And so, after depriving us of the knowledge of ourselves, knowledge of our name, the knowledge of our language, of our people, knowledge of our people's history, he called us Negro. Negro means something that is dead, lifeless, neutral. It's a neutral thing. It's something that you have to move or you put it down, well, it will stay right there until that you move it again. It is not something that it have any power of itself. It's it's moved by the power of another one. So he gave us this name, and it means something that is dead and lifeless, and that goes for our mental power. After being deprived of the knowledge of yourself, then you're considered mentally dead. And so the book translated, the Bible translated 400 and some years ago, or about 50 some years ago now, I think it is. They put in there the resurrection of the dead. When the resurrection of the dead comes, that would be the judgment. The resurrection only means the mentally dead people. We are the people to be resurrected. And when the resurrection of the so-called Negro or the black man of Americas, when he is resurrected into the knowledge of self and in the knowledge of God and the devil, then that's the end. And this is it now going on. This is the end of the white man's world. According to the history, scientists, and science, you can take it for granted. It is the end, and this must be done in order to not to give injustice to a person that have no knowledge of what it is all about. So before the God can destroy the world, he must give us a knowledge of why he is destroying it. And why are you killing me? He don't do things unjust. And so he always, according to the Holy Quran, he makes a people aware of why that he destroyed them or chastised them.
You mentioned that the American Negro is being resurrected. Knowledge of himself, self-knowledge. Mr. Muhammad, how did you receive this self-knowledge?
I receive this knowledge that I'm teaching and that I'm putting my life against, that if you can prove it other than the truth, from God in the person of one Mr. Farad Muhammad. he used the name Farad Muhammad. When he first made himself known to me and others, he used just the Farad, Wallace Farad. And he had an initial in between that I never knew what that initial stood for. That was a W. D. Wallace D. Farad is what he gave to us. Then, in the third year, on his departure, he told me that his name was Wallace Farad Muhammad. W.F. Muhammad. Wait, yeah.
This was the first time that he revealed his name to you.
First time he put the Muhammad to it. Yes. So I studied that then. From what he gave to me to study, he gave to me a Holy Quran in Arab, and I couldn't read it. So then he goes and gets me a Holy Quran in Arabic and English. And so I taken this book and I studied it from what he lined me up with. He gave me a copy of Texas and Places and other books. He gave to me the names of 104 books that is in the Congressional Library in Washington. And I studied them for 7 years. They're up and down the East Coast. And I have the Quran that he gave to me, given about 2/3 of it to study. The other third, he said, didn't amount to anything because that would be probably in some other man's time and not our time, and we shouldn't be worried about what the other fellow have to do. Let him worry over that. Well, when I first met him, it came to me that he was the man that the Bible prophesied would come in the last days as the Son of Man. And I recognized him to be that, as I had studied Bible ever since I was a little child. When I first learned to read, I learned to read Bible. And I always thought that I would be a preacher, but not a preacher of Islam. I didn't know nothing about Islam. I thought I would be a preacher of the religion of my father. That was Christianity, and he was a Baptist preacher, and I thought maybe I would be one. But I always told them if I ever preach, I would make enemies. I said because my father and other preachers would not like me if I preach. I said because I see so many things that they are saying and preaching is wrong. And so I went along like that until I was 35 years old before I actually was sent to preach. Then when I met this man, then I told him, I said, you are the one that the Bible teaches that will come, the Son of Man or the Messiah. And so he whispered in my ear, he got close to me, he looked all around, see who heard that. And he whispered in my ear and told me, he said, yes. He said, but keep quiet. He says, don't say anything to anyone about that. He said, I will let you know when to say that.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. We'd like to thank you for tuning in today, and we welcome you back for another edition brought to you by Muhammad's Temple United. Muhammad's Temple United is a collective body of believers and members of the Nation of Islam throughout the country who have joined together in a strong brotherhood and strong sisterhood to unite all of the temples across the country. As we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Islam is a unifying religion, and we are taking that into practice by coming together and doing something for ourselves to create heaven while we live right here on earth. We invite you all to join us in this beautiful unity of brotherhood and sisterhood. Whether you are a member of the Nation of Islam or you are new to Islam, we welcome you to come and join us as we come together and build something for ourselves. We ask that you join us every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear the teachings of Allah as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by one of our ministers throughout the country who will be rotating each week. So please try to be on time so you will not miss out on any of these powerful lectures. We also encourage you to tell a friend and family member to join us as well. It is important that all of our people get a chance to hear the truth so that they may make their decision. For those of you who would like to support Muhammad's Temple United and the work that we are doing to spread this truth throughout the country, please visit our Cash App at $Muhammad's Army. And for more information, you may reach us at 602-598-9009. Again, we thank you and we welcome you to Muhammad's Virtual Sunday Lectures. So without further ado, we'd like to present to you today's Muhammad's Sunday Virtual Lecture.